Today we are doing Math 6, Mission 2, Lesson 5, Defining Equivalent Ratios. So there are dot patterns for the warm-up. We are going to skip this, go down to Activity 1. Use the ingredients from a tuna casserole recipe to answer the questions. So here are the ingredients. 3 cups cooked elbow-shaped pasta, 6-ounce can tuna, drained, 10-ounce can cream of chicken soup, 1 cup shredded cheddar cheese, 1.5 cups French fried onions. Instructions. Combine the pasta, tuna, soup, and half of the cheese. Transfer into a 9-inch by 13-inch baking dish. Put the remaining cheese on top. Bake 30 minutes at 350 degrees. During the last 5 minutes, add the French fried onions. Let sit for 10 minutes before serving. All right, it says, what is the ratio, so we're doing ratios, of the ounces of soup to the cups of shredded cheese to the cups of pasta in one batch of casserole. So we can look directly at the ingredients and just get these ratios. So we are looking for soup to cheese to pasta. So I go up here, chicken soup is 10. So we would write 10 to the cheese is 1 cup to 1. And then the pasta is 3 cups. So my ratio should be 10 to 1 to 3. 2, how much of each of these 3 ingredients would be needed to make twice the amount of casserole? So if we were going to do twice the amount, and our ratio is 10 to 1 to 3. Twice the amount means to multiply by 2. So I'm going to take each number in the ratio and multiply it by 2. So 10 times 2 is 20, 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. So that's how much we would need for each of the 3 ingredients. Half the amount of casserole. So we are going to multiply by 1/2 or divide by 2, either one. We could also divide by 2. So 10 times 1/2 looks like this, 10 over 1 times 1 over 2, and we just multiply straight across. So that gets us 10 over 2, and that reduces to 5. So we have 5 to 1 over 1 times 1 over 2 gets us 1/2. So again, we have 1/2. And then we have 3. 3 over 1 times 1/2 gets us 3 over 2. And we can leave it in that improper fraction, 3 over 2. You can also change it into a mixed number for 1 and 1/2. C, 5 times the amount of casserole. So we are multiplying by 5. So 10 times 5 is 50. 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 1/5 the amount of casserole. So again, we are multiplying by 1/5. So 10 over 1 times 1 over 5 gets us 10 over 5, which equals 10 divided by 5 is 2. So it's 2. Then we have 1 over 1 times 1/5, which gets us 1/5, because anything times 1 is itself. And then we have 3 over 1 times 1 over 5, and we multiply across. That gets us 3/5. So 1/5 the amount of casserole has a ratio of 2 to 1/5 to 3/5. What is the ratio of cups of pasta? So now it's asking cups of pasta, 2 ounces of tuna in 1 batch of casserole. So we want pasta to tuna. Well, let's go back up here. Pasta is 3 cups and tuna is 6 ounces. So that would be a ratio of 3 to 6. 4. How many batches of casserole would you make if you used the following amounts of ingredients? 9 cups of pasta and 18 ounces of tuna. So again, this is a pasta to tuna ratio, which we already know is 3 to 6. So now we're looking at 9 cups of pasta and 18 ounces of tuna. Well, if our original ratio is 3 to 6 and we want to get to 9 to 18, how do we get from 3 to 9? Well, we multiply by 3. And what you do to one side, we have to do to the other. Now, if I multiply 6 times 3, does that get us 18? 6 times 3 is 18. So how many batches? Well, what did we multiply by? We multiplied by 3, so that means there are 3 batches. All right, 36 ounces of tuna and 18 cups of pasta. So we have our original ratio of 3 to 6, and now we need to get up to 36 to 18. Right? Ooh, we have to be careful though. It's 36 ounces of tuna and 18 cups of pasta. So they switch the numbers on us. So we can't do 36 and 18 because that's the wrong way. We need to do instead, we have 3 cups of pasta to 6 ounces of tuna. So we need to switch that ratio. It needs to be 18 to 36. Now, I know 6 times 6 gets me 36 because I know my multiplication facts. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Is 3 times 6 18? Yes, it is. So if both of these numbers are 6, that means 36 ounces of tuna and 18 cups of pasta is equal to 6 batches because I multiplied by 6 on both sides. 1 cup of pasta, so pasta is first, and 2 ounces of tuna. So we have 3 to 6. We need to get down to 1 to 2. Well, how do I get from 3 to 1? I can multiply by 1/3, or I can divide by 3. Now, let's check the other side. Is 6 divided by 3 2? Yes, it is. So we get a 1/3 batch of this pasta salad or pasta bake, whatever it is. Activity 2. The ratios 5 to 3 and 10 to 6 are equivalent ratios. Well, let's see what it goes to. So 5, to get from 5 to 10, we multiply by 2. To get from 3 to 6, we multiply by 2. So they are equivalent. Is the ratio 15 to 12 equivalent to these? Well, let's take our original ratio of 5 to 3 and our one that they give us, 15 to 12. 5 times what gets me 15? 5 times 3. Does 3 times 3 equal 12? No. 3 times 4 equals 12. So those are not equivalent. Because they go up by, or multiplied by different numbers. They go up by a different factor. All right, let's try this one. Is the ratio 30 to 18 equivalent to these? Again, let's start with our original 5 to 3. And then we have 30 to 18. Well, 5 times 6 equals 30. What is 3 times 6? 18. So they are equivalent. Give 2 more examples of ratios that are equivalent to 5 to 3. Let's just pick a number. I'm going to pick 10. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 10, and that gets me 50. And I'm going to multiply 3 times 10, and that gets me 30. 5 to 3 and 50 to 30 are equivalent ratios. All right, let's choose another number. You can do any number you want, just as long as you multiply both sides by the same number. Let's do 7. So 5 times 7 is 35, and 3 times 7 is 21. That is an equivalent ratio. How do you know when ratios are equivalent and when they are not? So ratios are equivalent when they are multiplied by the same number. And if they're not multiplied by the same number, then they are not equivalent. Write a definition of equivalent ratios. Okay, so equivalent ratios increase or decrease by the same number when multiplied. By that number. Okay, so an example would be multiply each side or all the ratios by 2, or multiply it by 1/3. So they would increase with multiplying by 2, and they would decrease by multiplying by 1/3. Okay, we are not going to create a visual display. And that is the end of our lesson. So you can see here, this is a definition, probably a better definition than I gave you, of what an equivalent ratio is. All ratios that are equivalent to A to B can be made by multiplying both A and B by the same number. Right? So whatever I multiply A by, if I multiply A by 21, then I must multiply B by 21 as well. All right. Make sure you go through your lesson summary.